So Chad over there at Green Acres did a pretty good video yesterday about the minimum thing. And dude, I'm with you on that. I don't even, it's really kind of hard to word, and the way I put it, it's going to sound, you know, egotistical or whatever. But at the end of the day, I have a minimum in my head, right? But that minimum, it's not across the board. You know, when I take on new customers, I usually, well, I don't tell them I tell them I have a minimum, especially if I don't want to do it. And then I'll put the minimum at wherever I think it should be for that particular property, even though I don't want to do it. But the good thing about, you know, well, for me, I don't set no hardcore minimum across the board. Every job, every property, every circumstance is different. I'm not going to alienate, you know, people that don't want to pay $85 because, you know, well, in my area, you're not going to get that. I mean, you'll get some, but I don't think you're going to get 85 bucks for the typical cut. And like Chad said, it's all about your density, man. You can't put enough emphasis on that. But people that they want the minimum or think that they you know, are doing right by doing a minimum, I'm not saying that you're wrong, by no means. I'm just saying be prepared for the consequences of that, and be prepared for your density to be not like you want it to be. Well, when you go 85 bucks minimum, in my area, I can't speak for any other area, you go 85 bucks minimum, well, I will lose a lot of my customers straight up, flat out. Even customers that I've had for a long time, because quite frankly, that would be a ripoff. When I'm doing 4 properties on the same street or whatever. Like the 3 we did yesterday, if I charge $85 a pop, I'd probably be doing 1 of them. Well, Ray, that's okay. You don't need the other 2 then. Yeah, but I'm right there, man. It doesn't make no sense, because what does it come back to? I hate to keep saying that crap, man. Our time. If $85 on 2 of the properties that I wouldn't get, so now I'm over there and I'm cutting 1 yard for 70, and then I got to drive 15 minutes to the next property, when I can do 370s over there, or 70 and 265s over there in an additional 25 minutes. You know, it doesn't, you know, you know, you can't just, I mean, you do whatever you want to do, it's your business, right? But I don't think that you should just $85 minimum like the AC guy would or whatever, because you're not the AC guy or the electrician or the plumber. They can get that, and you can too, but the reason they can get it easier than you is because 2 weeks from now, the plumber's still gonna be, he's gonna be at somebody else's house. You're gonna be back at that house. So when you talk about $80, $85, $90 for repetitive service like the lawn care, it better be a yard to justify that. And I got a lot of properties that are $100, $120, you know. I do, but for the ones that where we really make our good density money, if you do $85 or $90, you're not going to have good density. So you're going to lose the money that you're making right off the bat. You are, because you're not going to be in control of your density anymore. I know people, you know, but usually when people say that minimum or whatever, they're not usually, they're guys that are solo, not out here full time. And again, there ain't nothing wrong with that. If you can get it, get it. I want everybody to get all the money they can get. But I'm just realistically speaking, in my area, you're not going to get that and things go smoothly and you be super efficient or whatever. No way. I mean, I did good. Now, as I take more customers on, and I do every year, what I do, like a couple of years ago, I had a $60 minimum. I say that, right? But there's one little old lady that I'll cut for what it was 45 and now it's 50. But she's a little old lady. She don't, she don't cry about nothing. She don't care what day I come. She doesn't, all that. She's good. She's straight. And I'll do hers for 50 now. And I got one other one that I'll do for 45. But they can't cry about nothing. And I would not go up on them. I just wouldn't, because I know that they're on a fixed income and they're little old ladies and they can't afford it. So I make that up and I'll call it karma, call it whatever you want to call it. I just call it, well, doing the next logical thing. If I started, there's 2 or 3 that I do for 50 still. But when I started out in 2008, I had a $40 minimum, and that was doable even then, because you couldn't do the yards for, a lot of people around me were doing them for 35, and I lost yards behind people coming in undercutting me for $5, especially in some of the neighborhoods. But I didn't let that deter me, and I didn't drop my price to 35. I had a lot of customers over the years, especially in the very beginning when I really didn't know my density or what any of that meant really. Or how important all that was. It was all about how much I'm gonna get per yard or per property or per hour or whatever. And I lost many customers, but most of the time when a customer fires me, and it doesn't it doesn't happen often, they end up calling me back, especially if it was over money, because it becomes and I know I have a good compass on what people are paying for things in my area. That's why I'm always talking about money and what things cost, because it's so relevant. It doesn't even make sense. It's so relevant. What things cost directly reflects, how much work you got to do or whatever. But you're not going to get $85 here, I don't think. Trying to think of who I could go up on that's at say 60 and get them to 85 or 80. I can't think of any that where it'd be worth it. I might be able to get a couple of them to go to 70. And any yards that I take on that I would have took on last year for 60, when they come in, I don't tell them there's a minimum. I look at the property and then I assess what's the point in setting a minimum? Why would you do that? I don't understand. I don't want to set a minimum, because when people call me about their property, and if they are asking me, how much I charge, I don't say, well, I got a $80 minimum or a $50 minimum or a $60 minimum. I don't say none of that. I said, well, according to how much lawn there is and where you're located at, and those are all the things that are important. Setting a minimum across the board, I just don't think it's a smart thing to do. Especially if you're like on Google and you are advertising that. See, I don't advertise, so my minimum could be whatever I want it to be. Well, it can be, and my minimum can be $50 if I want it to be. Now I got to accept the consequences of that if I'm not making no money. But still, if you're super efficient and your density is really good, then for me, I could do the yards for $50 each, if and be okay. Because I rarely spend more than 30 minutes on a property. Rarely, on a minimum property. Rarely spend 30 minutes. Also, what you're not considering when you, write this down. Also, what you're not considering when you put a minimum out there, you're not considering you're not considering a word of mouth, because now word of mouth is not going to get you what you needed to get you probably. You're not going to, because you're not going to have the customers. See, the more customers you have, the less advertising you got to do. The more customers you have, the less time you got to spend on marketing and stuff, I think. Because those customers will get you more work by default. they'll hook you up with their mama, their daddy, their granny, everybody in their family. I got a lot of customers like that. And you know, if you go in there with a hardcore minimum, you're not even in the conversation. You're not even going to be able to get that tree limb down out of that tree, but you're not going to be on the property. They're going to have a guy like Ray come on there at 60, 65, maybe even 70. So you're going to sacrifice a client over 15 bucks. You know, I've done it before, but usually it's after I've done the property and I see that it's not going to work out. I don't just go in there, because if you go in there with that kind of hardcore mentality of a minimum, and the minimum is high, you know, I can see if the minimum 65 or 70, okay. But anything like Chassis, anything north of 75 or 80, I don't see it, man. I just don't see it. And even if you do get that, say you get that from Judy Poo and Cootie Poo, right? Say you get that, but they know that they're paying a lot. They just need the service right now, right? And once they realize that you're super high compared to their mama's lawn guy and to their cousin's lawn guy and to their daddy's lawn guy, when they see how high you are, you're going to be on the cuff of getting dropped, of getting fired at any moment, because people are not going to just perpetually let you punch them in the mouth. I ain't say it like that, y'all, but that's how I feel. You're not going to perpetually punch my customers in the mouth and then be okay with it, you know, because every time they write that check for $90 and $80 and $85 and whatever for $60, $65 lawn, they'll, you know, they might do it to begin with, but it ain't going to be a steady, it's going to be a rocky road for you. And their expectations are going to be through the roof too. If you even get it. I just don't think you're going to get it. Not here. And it makes sense where your density is going, you're going to lose all your goodness, money that you're making on up in the charts there. You're going to lose all that in your density. And then you're going to lose all that in the long term. I don't see a reason, and somebody can tell me, you know, if I'm wrong, I don't see a reason or anything that's going to benefit me to say in my advertising, my marketing, my whatever, that I have a minimum. I mean, we know we have to have a minimum. You and I know that, right? But why would I tell anybody that? Why would I tell the customer that? You're putting to me, you're putting the cart before the horse. Let's see what the property looks like. Let's see what a Mac can do if he goes up on that property and he sees, okay, I can do the yard for 65, but oh, they got crepe myrtles. Oh, they got, you know, tree trimming. Oh, they got gutter cleaning. Oh, they got, you know, and their expectations aren't real high. You go on there trying to get $90 or whatever, they're going to have an attitude. I mean, in my area, you're not going to last long. I mean, you might, but you still might be able to survive, you know, but you're going to have to do some really detailed stuff that I'm not going to have to do. The minimum thing is just, well, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. I don't understand why people have to say that. I can tell you guys I got a minimum, but why would I tell the customer I got a minimum if I want the work? You know, now if they're coming at me and they're talking about $30 a pop, I'm gonna say, well, I don't do any properties for $35. Sorry, you know. But and then, you know, if we're in discussion like that, I may tell the customer, you know, when we're having our interaction, well, 35 bucks, yeah. I don't do any property for less than 60, and then we'll just see what they say, because I know 60 is a baseline, you know. But I'm not going to advertise a minimum. Put it that way. I mean, every property, every yard, every customer is a little bit different, you know. Just going if you want to make money or not. You're solo though, you can, I guess you can do that, but you don't have to worry about being as efficient. You don't, because you don't have guys on the clock. You don't have to worry about your density as much. If I was solo, I could go out here and do 4 yards a day, and I could probably live on that. But of course I wouldn't, I wouldn't have a skid steer, and I wouldn't, you know, be able to afford all the stuff I got, you know, the equipment I got. So if I broke it all the way down, I said, okay, I'm gonna go solo. I can make a damn good living going solo, probably. I have to work a lot harder than I want to, and but because my density is so good. But it's a big fat no on marketing a minimum to me. So, and those are the reasons why. And to me, they make plenty of sense. I don't want to show my hand before it's time. You know, it's a big poker game out here, and you know, you don't want to alienate a customer or whatever, and you haven't even seen the property or haven't even done any kind of research on the property. See, I don't have to go to a property to know about what I'm going to charge about. Because if it's in a neighborhood or on a road somewhere, I probably know where that road is, and I probably have been working on that road before. So I know what kind of properties are over there in that area. But I never, ever give a price over the phone when I'm out here working. Not ever. Now, if they're coming out, if they're coming at me and I know they are up in Summer Grove, and they're looking for a lawn care guy up in Summer Grove, well, I don't tell them a minimum. I just tell them I don't work up in that area. I'm sorry, and I don't. So there's that. But yeah, I don't really see a benefit to advertising that. You guys let me get on in the comments. Deuces.